But it's kind of silly to not hype up the Zohran W here, because like it is an internationally relevant race. And I cannot believe that despite its international significance, these guys are just like trying to just be like, oh yeah, it's just another Democrat one. Who cares? Like, oh, it's just New York. All right. We also have all right, let's get into it. So yeah, I talked about the Bill de Blasio thing. I talked about the vindication, the impressive numbers as far as young voters. Here's a couple other clips that we'll go through, and then we'll move into some of the other stuff, because like I got to talk about Van Jones, and I got to talk about the ADL's response, and I have to talk about Alan Dershowitz, who said he was going to kill himself, but I don't think he is. We'll talk about Sean Hannity crying, and the billionaires not leaving even though they promised. Here's my drunk BBC interview.
Because he did the thing that I've been telling people for years at this point, which is that he centered the working class and all of the issues that they were experiencing in his platform. And
damn, the bots are here too in the Blokes Broadcasting Corporation.
Lo and behold, it turns out the working class responds fairly positively to a platform that seeks to at least solve some of the issues around affordability that they're experiencing.
Was it the working class, though, or was it a group of people who were excited by him because of who he was? In other words, does identity still count? Did it still count? Or is affordability the single reason why he won?
This is a person who was relentlessly hounded in the last 2 weeks of his campaign about his background, being falsely tied to 9/11, a heinous act of terror that New Yorkers experienced in 2001, over and over again, simply due to his Muslim background. So I think, if anything, his identity was not a galvanizing factor, but instead a hurdle that he had to overcome. And I think he did a fantastic job with that, because he centered his issues, no matter what they threw him, back to the policies.
We must get the government back.
Yeah. What do you think about Saikot Chakrabarti running to unseat Pelosi? I'm a fan. You'll see. We'll link up and build. Don't worry. Adam was there, but not Stavi, Cuomo supporter. No, Stavi was doing a Hollywood Halkia shit, and he has to fly out for a tour. I'll give you guys the rundown there. He wanted to come and he couldn't, unfortunately. I also unfortunately didn't get to see Mero there. He was trying to find me, but we couldn't figure out where people were. Oh, Hannah posted me. Hannah Einbinder, HasanAbi had Hannah Einbinder posted, said, "Me, good things are possible." Adam's still in the pocket of the Cuomo dynasty. Adam Friedland on the collapse of the Cuomo political dynasty.
Your favorite newscaster? Tough news for the Cuomo family.
It's a rough one, but we'll be back.
We'll be back?
This is the most you've ever smiled on stream. Happy Hassan not used to seeing it? Yeah, because shit sucks. Okay? Shit normally sucks. Shit sucks dick and ass. What do you mean? If you're on the correct side of politics, if you want to do right by others, remember that you're going to eat a lot of shit. No matter what your background is, okay? And you just have to keep pushing through it, and then hold on to these glimmers of hope, these exciting moments, you know? The problem is, by the way, Omar Fateh, in the final round he lost. Fateh made up considerable ground, but needed to be ranked second for about 71% of the remainder, and it just wasn't enough. And he lost. And I do feel as though I could have done more there, and unfortunately, like that I do feel very bad about. I was a Fateh voter, and it mainly came down to everyone but policy. He didn't have the same charisma or perfect public speaking as Mamdani and Frey while Dislike didn't have some crazy scandal in the end. I think a lot of people thought Fry was good enough and not worth the risk, even though Fateh's policies were strong. Of course, there's racism too. Yeah, we'll get him next time. You know, you just got to come back from it. Think about Cori Bush. Think about Jamal Bowman. Two people that were right but too early and were attacked relentlessly with a unlimited faucet of AIPAC back attack ads, specifically because they were on the right side of history, but they were too early. They were loud, they were outspoken, and unfortunately, they were punished mercilessly, ruthlessly for that. Oh yeah, this is a fire photo. I saw this as well. This is dope. And you know, you just can't give up. You got to get back in. People make mistakes, or sometimes people are not ready for it. It is what it is. Have you seen this Rudy Giuliani post? Fucking idiot. Yeah, the Democrat Farmer Labor Party cooked Omar. They really did. By forcibly pulling his endorsement after he secured it. That was crazy, man. And also Tim Walz. That was also a shitty thing that he did. Can't believe it. But let's hear from AOC on her assessment of what this night means. And then before we get to the transition team, I do want to bring up the fact that a lot of Democrats are refusing to talk about Zohran Mamdani, which has been interesting. Like, top Democrats are hyper focusing on Spanberger and Mickey Sherrill, which are significant victories, by the way. But it's kind of silly to not hype up the Zohran W here, because like it is an internationally relevant race. And I cannot believe that despite its international significance, these guys are just like trying to just be like, oh yeah, it's just another Democrat one. Who cares? Like, oh, it's just New York. And we'll talk about that. And we'll talk about what the significance of that is, and how how the establishment Democrats are using this as a way to avoid their left flank and talking about their left flank. But here's what AOC had to say last night, and then we'll talk about Van Jones.
He had to not just defeat a Republican. He had to defeat a Republican and the old guard of the Democratic Party at the same time. He was fighting a war on two fronts and not just one. And he still won resoundingly. And I think the message that sends is that the Democratic
Punjabi MC in the background is fire. That's so funny.
Party cannot last much longer by denying the future, by trying to undercut our young, by trying to undercut a next generation of diverse and upcoming Democrats that have the parties, the actual party, our actual electorate and voter support.
Yeah, it's true. It's a banger. And we'll talk about Zohran. I don't know how the fuck this dude is still out and about, by the way. He's still pushing. Psycho. Absolute psychopath, okay? Someone check for PEDs, okay? This is not normal. Check his computer. This is not normal. I genuinely don't understand how he is capable of this level of dynamism. He was doing an interview at 7 a.m. on Good Morning America with George Stephanopoulos. How is that possible? In Zohran Mamdani's first interview on Good Morning America, he says he has a mandate to enact his affordability agenda on President Trump. He says his threats are inevitable and they're about intimidation. How is that possible, bro? This dude was out. This dude was out late. We're not used to a young politician. Brother, I'm the same age as him. I cannot keep up with his ass. What are you saying? r/Democrats ban mentions or posts about Mamdani? Yeah, I saw that. It's Reddit. It's fucking Reddit, man. They're so delusional. You are mentally 55. I'm sorry. All right, well, we'll look at the exit polls in a second. Let's watch this.
Good morning, New York City, and thank you. Last night we made history, and today we begin the work of making a new administration. Welcome to the transition. This is the period over the next few months where we build a city hall that delivers on the promises of our campaign, to make New York City affordable and to make government accountable to the people it serves. As we prepare to govern, we'll start announcing the leaders who will help implement our agenda. People like deputy mayors who oversee entire areas of government and the commissioners who carry out the critical work of city agencies. These appointments will be driven by excellence, integrity, and hunger to solve old problems with new solutions. Talking to organizers on the front lines of the fight to improve our city, government veterans with proven track records, policy experts from around the country and the world, and working people who know better than anyone what our neighborhoods deserve. And this will be a period, like the campaign we ran and the city hall to come, defined by transparency. Because New Yorkers deserve a government they can trust. On January 1st, I will be your mayor. New Year's Day and a new era for this city. Oh, and one more thing. Remember how I told you a few months ago to stop sending us money? You can start again. This transition requires staff, research, and an infrastructure that can meet this moment. And it will be made possible by the people who built and believe in this. Make a donation at transition2025.com. Now let's get to work.
Fuck yeah. And boy, is that a beautiful transition. Does anyone have the clip of Van Jones hitting the anti-Zohran lines? Here's CNN's Van Jones. Not a fan of Mamdani's angry far-left rage-filled victory speech. Managing editor of Newsbusters is the one who's posting this, by the way. Newsbusters is a right-wing think tank, a right-wing oppo shop, and they're cutting Van Jones clips off of CNN. Let's take a look.
That we saw on the campaign trail, who was a lot more calm, who was a lot warmer, who was a lot more embracing, was not present in that speech. And I think,
by the way, his acceptance speech is a historic one. Okay? It was his best speech so far. And not only was it his best speech so far, I can't remember a time where I have heard any politician, regardless of what level they're at, whether it be running for mayor, whether it be running for president, whether it be running for Senate, governor, whatever, I cannot recall a single time post-Obama where I have heard a politician deliver a speech and I'm listening to it and I'm thinking, this will be written about, okay? It was his absolute best speech. Like, there were funny moments that turned the volume up. Like, that's not what I'm talking about. Coming out of the gate swinging with class first language, okay? With a Eugene Debs quote. Like, I'm telling you, there was something there. It was electric. He did not pull punches. And I think the reason why Van Jones is behaving this way is because obviously he's a stooge for Israel. He quoted Mario Cuomo, which was incredible.
Thank you, my friends. The sun may have set over our city this evening, but as Eugene Debs once said, I can see the dawn of a better day for humanity.
Come on, man. Come on, man.
As long as we can remember, the working people of New York have been told by the wealthy and the well-connected that power does not belong in their hands. Fingers bruised from lifting boxes on the warehouse floor, palms calloused from delivery bike handlebars, knuckles scarred with kitchen burns. These are not hands that have been allowed to hold power. And yet, over the last 12 months, you have dared to reach for something greater. Tonight, against all odds, we have grasped it. The future is in our hands. My friends, we have toppled a political dynasty. I wish Andrew Cuomo only the best in private life. But let tonight be the final time I utter his name as we turn the page on a politics that abandons New York, tonight you have delivered a mandate for change, a mandate for a new kind of politics, a mandate for a city we can afford, and a mandate for a government that delivers exactly that. On January 1st, I will be sworn in as the mayor of New York City, and that is because of you. So before I say anything else, I must say this. Thank you. Thank you to the next generation of New Yorkers who refuse to accept that the promise of a better future was a relic of the past. You showed that when politics speaks to you without condescension, we can usher in a new era of leadership. We will fight for you because we are you. Or as we say on Steinway, ana minkum wa ilaykum.
Man, I need that hoodie, Hasan. Well, you can get it at ideology.shop. You can get it at ideology.shop. Union made, US made. The back is even cooler. The front says disarm, but the back is even cooler. Yeah, here was Scott Jennings and Van Jones tag teaming this speech.
The White House should be listening?
I mean, look, these are blue states, and Democrats were supposed to win.
It is really interesting, though. The cope coming from the right and the center is identical. Oh, this victory is meaningless. Oh, they only spent like $100 million attacking the dude every second of the day and literally concocted a spoiler candidate. Oh, it's not that big of a deal. Ah, who cares? And you hear that from Matt Iglesias all the way to Van Jones and Scott Jennings. This is the reason why I showed you AOC's statement last night on Abby Phillips. Because Zohran didn't just fight back and win against the Republican in a city-wide election where 75% of the vote is usually going to go to the Democratic candidate. He fought back against the establishment Democrats as well. There is a real moment here. There is a real moment here. This is a people-backed candidacy, a class-first politics going up against the forces of capital, okay?
So I wouldn't overread it. Virginia, in particular, has never been a great bellwether. I don't think a lot of folks had a lot of confidence in the Virginia campaign that was run on the Republican side. And New Jersey is New Jersey. So I would hesitate to overread it. I don't think the concerns you raised are illegitimate political strategy concerns. You know, I think I just want to offer condolences to Chuck Schumer. Honestly, what I'm reading here in New York City is that AOC is going to be the next senator from New York after she gets done whooping his rear end in the 2028 Democratic primary. And for his Senate races in 2026, I see the energy in the Democratic Party tonight behind a socialist, and I see the energy in Virginia, Democrats looking the other way on a violent candidate for Attorney General who says he wants...
It's your boy Jesus. Why are you watching this Neo baby artard? Ha ha ha. What is a Neo baby? Why are you so full of hate? What's happening? Did the Roach Master quit streaming or something? We're getting a... What's a Neo baby?
To murder Republicans and their children. If you think you're getting rid of Graham Plattner in Maine now, think again. This is a terrible night.
They got new types of
Democratic
babies.
Image, given what is happening inside their party. Mamdani is an avowed socialist. It's not what people say that he is, it's what he says that he is. He's now the leader of their party. That's their energy, and Chuck Schumer's...
He's the leader of the Democratic Party?
Let's swear.
There is no... Who is the leader? Can someone tell me?
He's a life raft for Republicans who have to go on TV and get their asses kicked today.
You own this now. You all own this now.
We've had progressive mayors. I don't think anybody thought that de Blasio...
He's the best actor you all have, is he not?
No disrespect to my new boy, Bilbo, okay? No disrespect to Bill de Blasio, but I think there is a difference here, right? There is a little bit of a difference here. Yes, New York has had progressive mayors in the past, okay? But New York in its history has only had 2 socialist mayors, and this is the only relevant contemporary historic example, okay? And that's precisely the reason why all of you dipshits sitting in your ivory tower are spending every waking moment attacking him. This is the most uniparty these guys have been in a long time, just openly saying the quiet part out loud over and over again. Make no mistake, if he was the same exact like regular progressive Democrat, there wouldn't be this level of angst and this level of animosity, right? Let's be real. That's just the truth. Yeah, we'll get to the Ross Douthat video in a second.
Listen,
Mamdani.
here's what I'll say. I'm a lot happier than you are sad. You're saying I'm happy. You know why? Buyer's remorse from independents. Independents gave Donald Trump a shot. Buyer's remorse. The Latin community gave him a shot. You see, buyer's remorse. Black men gave Trump a shot. They've come back home.
Didn't.
Buyer's remorse. Why?
They didn't. That's just bad. That's just bad commentary. Like, you can say that about the Hispanic vote. You can't even say that about black men. That's just bullshit. That's bullshit. The margins for black men were so narrow. It was nothing. It was nothing. Okay? God, it's just like, this is just wrong. This is just wrong. This is wrong analysis. I cannot believe it. Of course, Dems are going to take the wrong message action this time. God.
Because people are sick of the status quo. That's why they voted for Trump the first time. That's why they voted him out the second time. That's why they voted him back in. People want change. And Donald Trump said he was going to do something about grocery prices. He's done everything, but he's putting in gold bullets in the White House. He's tearing up. He's gallivanting around the world. And you're seeing buyer's remorse in places where Republicans had some hope. This thing is starting to settle out now. This is about basic needs that people have and basic rights people expect. That's what seems to be under fire from this administration. And if they think they can spin and talk and spin and talk and nobody's going to notice that, they just got proven wrong tonight. People's basic needs are not being met. One of the things that I think people are seeing, not just from Mamdani, but from the moderates as well, this focus on kitchen table issues. We used to talk about this in weird ways. Income inequality, wealth disparity, economic justice. People who went...
Didn't say it that way.
but we had a lot of syllables, man. It was people describing a problem they didn't have, okay? Now you got people who are talking like the people who have the problem. I can't afford nothing. And somebody who can talk that way, whether they're on the left of our party or the middle of our party, is going to have a big audience. And this buyer's remorse that's setting in now from other people is a big problem for the Republicans.
I think two big takeaways. So listen, I think there's this divide within the Democratic Party. Is the future of the party Mamdani? Is it democratic socialism? Is it more in the likes of AOC and Bernie Sanders? He no doubt ran a good campaign. I interviewed him. He is a very formidable force in American politics. We had two female governors who were just elected, Democrats, who ran as consummate centrists. Both of them were talking about uniting the country, that there's more that unites us than divides us, both with very credible resumes. So what direction are you going to go? Because you guys need to focus on...
Rich Democrats are the reason why Democrat voters hate Democrats right now. And dude, I was a Republican who I'm proud to say I flipped to be a Democrat because of Zohran's views on normal politics. Dude, like, mashallah, hell yeah. That's crazy. What a fucking swing. I love that. I fucking hate Van Jones. He's basically saying the electorate is too dumb to understand the underlying social issues that stem from capitalism. Yes, he is saying that. I mean, he is a deeply, deeply cynical charlatan. And I'm so glad that Charlemagne the God, who has become like a woke warrior, okay? Look at what Charlemagne's take was on Van Jones's stupid-ass criticisms, like silly-ass criticisms. Once again, remember, when Van Jones is speaking, just understand, he's saying populist framework works, simplifying the messages is working. And yes, that is true, okay? But I'm mostly referencing Van Jones's statements about how Zohran Mamdani was more aggressive than ever before. Okay, like in his speech last night, which, by the way, was his best speech, I think. Okay, this is what I'm referencing, and I'm going to talk about Charlemagne the God's assessment after.
That Mamdani is the one you need to hear from tonight. There are a lot of people trying to figure out, can I get on this train with him or not? Is he going to include me? Is he going to be more of a class warrior, even in office? I think he missed a chance tonight to open up and bring more.
There was one person I did want to meet last night that I didn't get a chance to, and that's Mahmoud Mamdani, the GOAT. I really, really wanted to meet him, and that was the I didn't have time. We didn't make it happen, but hopefully, inshallah, one day.
Into the tent, I think his tone.
His mom is cool too, but I'm not like a very big movie person.
I think he was using the microphone in a way that he was almost yelling.
Do you not realize how unoriginal you are? Elaborate. Explain what you mean.
And that's not the Mamdani that we've seen on TikTok and the great interviews and stuff like that. So I felt like there's a little bit of a character switch here, where the warm, open, embracing guy that's close to working people.
Slop Tubers made new videos, so the roaches are coming from that. What could they have possibly made videos on? We just saw last night, for those with eyes to see, that all of the attack ads amounted to nothing, and that people were steadfast in their approach, and that there was no, like, all of the endless amounts of shit, both on the campaign trail, okay, stash the glasses, your edgy trend, grabbing onto hold onto some sort of success. Wait, grabbing onto hold of some sort of success? Damn, brother, you can't even fucking celebrate when your team is winning? What's happening? Oh, they pretend now that Zohran hates you. Oh, that's what it is. Wait, that's what it is? That's awesome. Yes, it's true. You missed the LSF flooding the front page of Reddit with Hassan bad slander threads about you. There were more threads from there about you than there were about Zohran winning. I fucking love that. Hey, Cope Harder haters. Ooh. You have to remember. This is what I was saying. Like, brother, there were tens of millions of dollars in fucking attack ads. Tens of millions of dollars in attack ads. This is a totally different level. Okay? We're not talking about some fucking dumb, nonsensical Reddit thread. We're talking about, like, they think that the crowd cheered for you because they mistook you for Zohran. They were using the clip about you not being allowed upstairs to prove that Zohran hates him and he doesn't get let in. Yes, this is true. Yeah. Zohran, they said you begged to be in the VIP. I can't even make memes on this stream. Like, anytime I joke about anything, people just like take it seriously and turn it into like this massively consequential incident. You not being let into the after party was on the recommended page on Twitter. What are they talking about? Guys, I was streaming the entire time. The upstairs is obviously family. Would they be saying that if you went on stage after the DJ set like the organizers asked you to? Yes, they would still say it. There was a 25K upvote thread about you getting declined from VIP. Okay, you guys watched the stream, okay? You watched the stream, so you saw what the truth is, what the reality is. Doesn't that, like, if you are in the margins, right? If you're one of these people that's like, oh, I've actually found myself believing these Reddit threads, does that not surprise you at all when the truth is so different than the way it's been presented to you? Like, at some point, you got to fucking give up on this, right? At some point, you got to be like, yeah, we're hating, but like, to what end? You were in the same area as the elected officials. This is a total hallucination. Yeah, like what? So what happens when people go, "Oh, you were not a part of the welcomed guests or anything like that," and then you turn around and you see me, dabbing up AOC and shit. Like, how does that work? Magically, the thread of you and AOC was downvoted. Funny how that works. It's so strange. They edited a clip together to make it look like you were trying to flex your viewer count to get in. Dude, how do you spend that much time on something just to literally make whoever is like watching you be so far removed from the reality? I don't understand it. That's so crazy. I mean, this is a moment of excitement. So there's no reason to spend time on negative hate threads. But I think if you are in the margins, if you're like the type of person who's thinking like, oh, what's up with this Hassan guy? Like, what's up with this Hassan dude? Like, all these people are fucking hating on him, and you see threads like that, and then you see the reality. both reflected in mainstream reporting and both reflected in just the footage that you can see from the actual entire experience. Doesn't that make you mistrust the people that deluded you into thinking this? They edited to make it sound different. It was an edited clip. It actually doesn't. I don't understand it. Lib hogs say you're an industry plant used to what? I saw someone say AOC only hugged you because she was so scared of backlash from her audience. It's just sad, man. At some point, you gotta live in the real world, right? Like, you gotta live in the real world at some point. Get off Reddit, chat. It'll make you feel better. Yeah, I don't really touch Reddit at all. But it is pretty funny that they're just like in there fucking coping. That's awesome. It's on LSF. Hasan gets denied VIP seating at the Zohran Mamdani election party. Hasan shocked by crowd response to the exit Zohran event. This is the country that defeated the USSR, unfortunately, Hasan. That's pretty nutty. You can get, I think this is a great example of how, I think, of how you can get people who are primarily invested. Were you telling people not to share details on stream because 70,000 people were watching? That's why they edited it? Yeah, probably. I don't even remember. The top clip skips a minute. They left the countdown in the editing. Knowing the truth, this feels like staring into a mental asylum. I know. How can people be so deluded? That actually is kind of remarkable. He's so fucking cringe, my God. That seems kind of low for him during election night. Why do you American teenagers like dog abuse is strange. That's shocking. Really jolted his confidence. He tried to rock the vote. Since they allowed videos instead of clips, the harassment has been tenfold with the edited footage. Love the cope. Damn, okay. I just wanted a drink. Yeah, okay, buddy. Bro thinks he's still in LA, bro. Nobody gives a fuck about YouTubers and streamers in the real world. Oh my God. The edit was when the guy asked if you were live, not you using your viewer count to get upstairs access. Doesn't matter anyways, because everyone's in the main floor anyways. Yeah. I swear. I could save orphans out of a burning orphanage, and these guys would find a way to fucking clip it in front of like hundreds of thousands of people too, and everyone is like, oh my God, I can't believe this guy saved a bunch of orphans out of a burning orphanage. And these guys will find a way to clip it so that it's like Hasan lit a match on fire. Look at Hasan. They would reverse the footage and be like, look at Hasan bringing orphans back into a burning orphanage. And thousands of people on Reddit in this like very clearly botted pose will be like, yeah, I can't believe it. He loves throwing orphans inside of a burning orphanage. This is his favorite thing. Some of them think you got kicked out. If I weren't a fan, just on the outside looking in through Reddit, I would wonder why the extremely petty attacks on you were so consistent. Like, if I only saw the hate, I would think it's suspicious as fuck that they find that much. I think most people, they rely on most people. It's literally a cyber stalking subreddit. There's nothing of value on there outside of harassment. We're shining spotlights on the most unwell parts of the internet again. It's true. I mean, in case it isn't clear, people are paying for clips like this and probably the attention too. There's a whole economy around this. That's crazy. It blows my mind that it's like, it blows my mind that this is how devoted people are. You know what I mean? And it's like, they are devoted to crafting this alternative universe. And even in a moment where this should be a light shining on the falsehoods that these guys have presented as the truth, like objectively, right? Hundreds of people being like, oh yeah, dude, we canvassed, like, I'm so glad you got me tapped in with the Zohran campaign, all this stuff, like politicians talking to them, media coverage surrounding this event. And this is what you care about? This is an internationally significant event that took place, an internationally significant election, and these guys are primarily invested in doing this stuff. That actually that makes me kind of sad. I know so many people who agree with your politics, but have fallen for the clips and believe you're crazy or some insane person. I'm always like, you got to watch the stream, man, please. And they're like, nah, stop being a fan. That guy's crazy, man. Admit it. It's all because they think a certain streamer would be in your position if he wasn't banned. Literally all that stems from that is so fucking bad. That's crazy. Wait until you see what E's take on the election was. Like, at a certain point, you got to realize that you are at a certain point, you got to realize, like, you're probably not focused on the right stuff, right? Not as shocked as Kaya. Bro thinks he's him. Bet he's crashing out on Discord right now. Why would he be? His guy won. He got interviewed by a bunch of presidents, celebrated with the voters. This subreddit seems incredibly obsessed with Hasan. Well, yeah, this is where folks cannonball into their parasocial obsession. It's interesting to watch if you don't engage. Kind of. This is my first time really engaging. I've only heard of Hasan on podcasts, but goddamn, the comments in this subreddit are just annoying to read sometimes. Could be more fun, but it's a decent way to kill time. Dude, I despise Hasan, but this clip literally shows a crowd cheering for him and him just simply reacting to that. I can't believe I'm defending this dude right now, but comments like yours are just silly. How would you react in the same exact position? You would just duck and hide to not appear as him when a large crowd cheers for you? There's so much to criticize this dude for, but this is such a nothing burger. I do stay away from this stuff because I think it's brain poison for the most part. But it is kind of crazy that like these people do not exist in the real world. You go outside and you see he's beloved. There's no point in hyper focusing on the cyber stalking subreddit. It's crazy. I mean, who cares? These people don't matter. Go outside, chatters. Yeah, remember, all of this is just noise. And I think in some respects, like last night is proof, right? What is this? It's important to illustrate that this is entirely this person's community. Oh, yeah. Has Z Cohen Sanchez explained her thinking behind making this empath cham person part of the Unfuck America tour? Have they simply dropped all pretense of it just not being a huge money grab for racist grifters? Yeah, remember that like meth smoking blackface doing crackhead? Yeah, apparently that's like that's Sex Pestini's new girl. Anyway, that's a crazy thing to look at. I made a fake cancellation and right-wingers believed it. Hasan Piker caught bribing journalists with Johnny Walker, Blue Label, and Hot Mic moment.
No, it's fine.
No, it's rude. It's not. If this is Mamdani event, why is food and drink free? Google Reddit user Therendril, since his post history is hidden. He's a professional Hasan poster on 2 specific subreddits. You can guess which. The only IRL hater of yours I've ever met was at a college party, and after rambling for half an hour to me in a cocaine-fueled psychotic rant, he got pressed for harassing a girl at the party, then jumped out of the 3rd-story window to get away, breaking his leg and screaming in the front lawn until the ambulance came. That's awesome. Don't get comfortable, bro. The media hasn't gotten a hold of the content nuke yet. Count your days. Yeah. All right, let's keep going with this.
National election again. It's been a minute since that's happened, and I think you're going to get a lot farther with the Mikey Sherrill and with the Abigail Spanberger approach. But let me
hold on. I got to go to. No, as soon as you're done.
We'll get to the Mamdani a bit later.
Caitlin Collins at the White House got some.
Why aren't you doing anything about that subreddit? It's just so fucking malicious. They purposely maliciously edited that clip. You need to reach out to Reddit and report how malicious they are. They don't give a shit, bro. Come on. It moves numbers. Even if it's like botted, it still moves numbers. They don't care. And also, I just spent the last fucking 30 minutes explaining to you how psychotic this framing is and how little it has real world impact. At most, I genuinely believe that a lot of that stuff unironically causes at least some people in the margins who had never heard of me to know what my name is and maybe develop a negative attitude towards me, but at least like come in here and watch and see for themselves. And then they realize like, oh, this is just not true at all. Because obviously the greatest antidote to that kind of smear is just, you know, being true to yourself. What is this? I'm a fan from the other side in the real world, W. Unk. Okay, I look a lot cooler from this angle. The 9/11 shit was the biggest thing they could find, and it didn't work. They have nothing and they know it. It's why they're hyper focusing on the smallest details. It's so weird. Some of the comments are like, Zohran W. Glad he's distancing himself from Hassan. Like they have genuinely positive views towards your/Zohran's type of politics. The only reason they have, no, those are that's the same principle behind people thinking like, oh, Zohran actually has my opinion on Israel and not Hassan's opinion on Israel. Like there's no daylight between me and Zohran on Israel. There's the reason why they keep attacking him. In any case, Olivia Reingold wrote about her coverage of Zohran last night. Watching your stream yesterday made me rethink how much motion you actually have. Yeah. All right. Let's continue.
Back to all these wins. Kaylin, what are you hearing?
Well, Anderson, actually, it's been pretty quiet here at the White House, which is telling in and of itself. The president himself has not posted on Truth Social in about 4 hours since earlier tonight when he was announcing a staffing decision. That is obviously something that you likely wouldn't hear had there been any major Republican victories tonight. But this is a key question of how the White House and how the president will be interpreting these big Democratic wins tonight in New Jersey and in Virginia and in the New York City mayor's race, all three of which the president was involved to some degree. Yes, he did not outright endorse in Virginia there for the Republican candidate in the gubernatorial race, but he certainly did there in New Jersey. He hosted multiple tele-rallies for Jack Ciattarelli. The Republican National Committee poured a lot of money into that race. And obviously, he got directly involved in the New York City's mayor's race last night when he endorsed Andrew Cuomo. And so it'll be really telling to see how the White House interprets these results tonight, because earlier when I had been speaking with officials is whether or not they saw this as a referendum on the president's first 9 months in office. Anderson, basically what they were saying is that they were in wait-and-see mode. They wanted to see how these results turned out tonight before they tied any of them closely to the president. We've seen some reaction coming in already tonight from former Trump campaign advisors saying that they believe this is a candidate quality issue and that Republicans need to run better candidates who are more in line with the president in order to secure victories. But we will be able to hear from the president himself tomorrow. He's actually hosting Republican lawmakers, Republican senators, to be exact here, Anderson, for breakfast at the White House. And reporters will be able to go into the room there and ask the president himself, what does he make of these victories by Democrats tonight?
All right, Kaylin, thanks very much. Is this a candidate quality issue?
Well, I think that there were questions about the candidate in Virginia, and the president was sort of never really did officially endorse her, did he?
Nope.
But in Jersey, he fully embraced the candidate and praised him as a great candidate, and now it was a candidate quality problem. I mean, that is sometimes the spin is so obvious that you shouldn't even bother, because people can recognize it for what it is. I mean, the fact is, there is a mood in this country of dissatisfaction. As Van said, they took a shot on Trump because they were unhappy with the economic conditions under Biden. They felt he was ineffectual in dealing with them. Trump promised to focus on those, and that's not what he's done. And they're sending a message. So you can try and spin your way through that, or you can try and rearrange your priorities and focus more on the things that affect people's lives.
It's interesting in New York, and this exit polling asks, is crime where you live a major problem, minor problem, not a problem? The majority, 51%, said a minor problem, which kind of surprises me.
Why? Why does it surprise you, Anderson? Why would that surprise you? Of course it's unsurprising. Edited like a snarker thumbnail. The free beacon having a totally normal one. That's awesome. Why would that be surprising? That is the most consistent thing. In the United States of America, everybody thinks, if you look at the polls, this is not new, okay? And Anderson Cooper is a nationally prominent political commentator, okay? This is consistent. Everybody thinks crime is happening just elsewhere. That's literally it. The crime panic is everywhere but where I live. That is the most common and consistent position. People always think that there is a shit ton of crime happening, just not in their neighborhood. So, of course, when they're asked directly, do you think there's crime in your neighborhood? They're going to say no, because crime is at historic lows again. There was a brief moment where it peaked during COVID, and now it's back to the same historical pattern.
And also given the attention that the president has put in.
Well, but that was part of Cuomo's problem, is that Eric Adams, whatever you want to say about him, had actually done a reasonably good job of bringing some of the crime down. You know, the subways were getting a little bit safer.
The police commissioner also, who Mamdani says he will keep on.
Will keep on.
Yeah, Glaze, anybody but fucking Zohran Mamdani.
Is actually moving in the right direction. Cuomo comes out and he's going to do a campaign that's mainly about public safety, but it felt a little bit flat. And I think the other thing that you have to understand is not only did Mamdani run a campaign that's going to be studied forever, Cuomo could have been Mamdani's co-chair of Mamdani's campaign. He did a terrible job. He was bubble wrapped. I've talked to grassroots people who said that he would basically ghost grassroots groups. He would insist, if I come, you can't have your cell phones. It was like he was entitled to this, and he was going to deign to show up at the grassroots level. That actually does not work. You've got to be at the community level, and that's why he lost.
Fucking annoying. Here's what Charlemagne the God had to say about Van Jones.
Any of that divisive? I personally loved that he covered all bases. He talked about working with police, helping people with mental health issues. He talked about helping the homeless, trans people, black women, Jewish people, the Muslim community. Most importantly, he spoke to the working class of all races. Van Jones didn't like that. He thought it was divisive.
But I think he missed an opportunity. The Mamdani that we saw on the campaign trail, who was a lot more calm, who was a lot warmer, who was a lot more embracing.
Where the fuck does Jones get this analysis from? It's called $100 million from Jeff Bezos. Literally look it up. Jeff Bezos gave him straight up, no questions asked, $100 million. He also is one of Van Jones, despite his early beginnings as an activist and a movement builder, as a Maoist third worldist. This is real. You can also look that up as well. He is a massive AIPAC stooge, okay? He is deeply, deeply in the pockets of the Israel lobby. He is such a fucking annoying person. He is so goddamn annoying. He has notoriously the worst takes. For every one good take he has 1,000 bad takes. I mean, this man fucking cried after Joe Biden dropped out, okay? That's all you need to say. You just make fun of him, point, laugh, and fucking move on. It's not even worth it.
Was not present in that speech. He was almost yelling. That said, he's very young, and he just pulled off something that's very, very difficult. But I think he missed an opportunity to open himself up tonight, and I think that will probably cost him going forward.
Van, shut the F up, ever. Okay? Damn. There was no opportunity missed. The man just won, and he deserved to take a victory lap. There's absolutely nothing divisive about calling out bad landlords who take advantage of tenants, calling out billionaires who are corrupt and don't pay their fair share of taxes, and administration trying to implement an authoritarian strategy on America. There is no...
I can't believe this man's political evolution. I can't believe it. This dude literally went from being a Pete Buttigieg booster to being a fucking Michael Bloomberg booster to whatever he has become now. Oh my God, Charlemagne the God. Actually, unironically, the God, okay? The actual God.
Nothing wrong with calling that out. See, the reason a lot of things don't change in this country is because you don't have enough politicians that are willing to challenge capitalism. And Zohran is doing that.
Very hard for me to get inside of Van Jones's head, but I would remind people that Van Jones in 2017 is the guy who gave us the most famous line of the first Trump administration. Van Jones on CNN said, tonight he became president of the United States. Van Jones thinks that Donald Trump gives unifying speeches that make him president, but thinks Zohran Mamdani, who's united a multiracial, multicultural, multi-income coalition, is divisive. That tells you more about Van Jones than it does tell you about Zohran Mamdani. I mean, Jared Kushner's pal wasn't a fan of Zohran Mamdani's anti-oligarchy, anti-Trump speech. I'm shocked.
Please give Van Jones the biggest hit.
Damn. Donkey of the day. That's awesome. Respect. All right. Let's get to this this funny moment from Trump. Obviously is very telegenic. Okay. But some of his best moments are when he recognizes that he's kind of lost on an issue. This is one of those. I fucking love it.
open soon and really immediately. Last night, it was, not expected to be a victory. It was very Democrat areas, but I don't think it was good for Republicans. I don't think it was good. I'm not sure it was good for anybody. But we had an interesting evening, and we learned a lot. But I thought we'd have a discussion after the press leaves about what last night represented and what we should do about it, and also about the shutdown and how that relates to last night. I think if you read the pollsters, the shutdown was a big factor, negative for the Republicans, and that was a big factor. And they say that I wasn't on the ballot was the biggest factor, but I don't know.
They say I wasn't on the ballot, that's why they lost. I'm so glad they said it, because I only care about myself. Fucking awesome.
About that, but I was honored that they said that. So as you know, we are in the midst of a disastrous Democrat-created government shutdown, and it is Democrat-created, but I don't think they're getting really the blame that they should.
Your media presence last night has inspired me to officially get political. Connor, what do you mean officially get political? You are the most consequential political commentator on this goddamn platform, brother. What are you talking about? You already are there. I look to you for notes. I look to you to learn from what must be done. You know what I mean? Do not undermine yourself, sir. Fortnite Fridays, baby. That was an accident. Yeah, I saw his response, the dick tone. That's very funny. Pretty fucking awesome. I wanted Vin Diesel and the guy from Holes.
The longest shutdown in American history. The Democrat radicals in the Senate have shown zero interest in reopening the government, and I don't think they'll act so soon. A lot of people disagree. I've been saying for the last 30 days, we've had 4 or 5 different points. Yes, sir, they're going to get it right now. We should have it done in a day. I've heard that about 4 times. I heard it after Kings. They said I was a king. And I heard it after Kings. I heard it after a couple of other moments in time. And I said, no, I don't believe so. And now I heard it's after the election. I don't believe so.
Now to our other top story, a clean sweep for Democrats.
Unfortunately for Democrats, Trump was on every ballot, and between Doge tariffs and his general economic mismanagement, it was enough to deliver a blowout. Yeah, it is maximum cope for him to say, oh, I wasn't on the ballot. Brother, everything you have done so far is the reason why even centrist Democrats won. Okay? Because people are understandably fucking pissed off. And this is a way to say, fuck you. Because the Democratic Party is at historic lows in popularity. And even then, people mobilized, people went out, and people voted against the Trump administration. And that actually is reflected in the exit polls as well. When you look at the exit polls in New Jersey and in Virginia, it's like people were openly saying they're voting against Donald Trump, right? There was one exception to the races last night, and that was Zohran Kwame Mamdani. People were voting for Zohran as opposed to voting against the Trump administration. Now, you might say it's partially because Curtis Lee was not exactly... Curtis Lee was exactly like Trump aligned. There's truth to it, right? But I think it speaks to the success of the campaign in general. Hasan, I wasn't the biggest fan of you. As you come across streams and clips as a bit of a leftist frat bro, and as a Brit, it's not really my vibe. But after watching the podcast ep with Zach, I changed my mind, and apologies. It's all good, brother. Thank you for being here. Enjoy. Matt Taibbi's not a fan of you. Yeah, I saw. Kind of makes me sad to see his fall off, but it is what it is. Anyway, let's continue.
In yesterday's key elections, New York City's next mayor will be Zohran Mamdani, a Democrat.
Oh, God, they still say his name wrong. Your haters on the internet are becoming more irrelevant. Your movement is our movement, not my movement. People are getting burned out on the fuck Hasan shit more quickly or swapping to our side. Only the psychos continue to scream into their Reddit and a smaller audience. Yeah, I agree. It's also just wrong. Like, it's just objectively, whatever. It doesn't matter.
Democratic Socialists who won a slim majority, but nonetheless a decisive victory over former Governor Andrew Cuomo in a 3-way race. In New Jersey, meanwhile, Democratic Congresswoman Mikey Sherrill was elected the state's next governor, and Virginia voters made history, choosing Democrat Abigail Spanberger as their first female governor. Ed O'Keefe is tracking it all, as he has been for days. Ed, good morning. What do you know?
Tony, good to see you here in New York. These off-year elections are a good indicator of the country's political mood, and last night's victories for Democrats could be an early sign of the party's strategy, or at least what it should be, going into next year's midterm elections. From California.
What a night for the Democratic Party.
To the New York Island.
Tonight we have spoken in a clear voice. Hope is alive.
And in two key contests in New Jersey and Virginia, Democrats swept every big race on the ballot.
My friends, we have toppled a political dynasty.
34-year-old Zohran Mamdani is set to be New York's next mayor, the first Muslim to hold the job. The self-proclaimed Democratic Socialist focused on lowering costs, promising rent freezes and free buses. But he drew criticism from President Trump, who endorsed the former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo, who
I can't believe Abigail Spanberger made history. Not Zohran, though. He just had a marginal victory. Yeah. Abigail Spanberger made history last as the first female governor. Zohran Mamdani is the first Indian, Muslim, second socialist mayor, youngest mayor. Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, this is not a big deal. It's just like a slim majority. Nothing to pay attention to at all. Right?
Independent. In response to Trump's threats, Mamdani struck back hard.
So Donald Trump, since I know you're watching, I have 4 words for you. Turn the volume up.
He dismissed the president's threats to withhold federal funding or deploy National Guard to protect the city.
To get to any of us, you will have to get through all of us.
While Mamdani's win will earn outsized attention, victories by 2 moderate Democratic congresswomen who were once roommates in Washington could also shape the party's direction.
Tonight, we sent a message.
In Virginia, Abigail Spanberger is set to be the Old Dominion's first female governor.
Adam said to our daughters, your mom's going to be the governor of Virginia. I can guarantee those words have never been spoken in Virginia ever before.
While voters in New Jersey elected Mikey Sherrill, a former Navy helicopter pilot.
I am incredibly honored to be your next governor.
In California, overwhelming approval for Governor Gavin Newsom's plan to redraw the state's congressional map to favor Democrats.
Gav.
A response to what Republicans did in Texas at the request.
How are you not banned? Why would I be banned?
Of Trump.
This is a pattern. This is a practice. Donald Trump's efforts.
This was good. Dude, you were wasted last night? No, I wasn't. I was a little buzzed. This was good. The Prop 50 was good. I still can't believe Prop 50 passed. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? It was a blowout. Prop 50 is one of the best indications that Democrats want to fight. Okay? Like Democrat voters want a fight. They're demanding it. Okay? Straight up. If you thought that Prop 50 was going to be contested, you are not paying attention. State like California, where Democrats can farm out more congressional seats, are you kidding me? Yeah, we're gerrymaxing. Gerrymander maxing. Okay? That's the name of the game. Republicans should not have fucked around. I think they should go even harder. Fuck it. This is the same principle behind not abolishing the filibuster. This is the same principle behind not packing the Supreme Court with additional seats. If you don't do it, they will. And then you'll have to do it in a defensive posture. Okay? The Delete Republican District Act is up by 14 points in the former heart of CA GOP. Orange County is the heart of the California GOP. This is like, one of the few like densely packed areas, because the rest of the Californian state has plenty of red areas, but like Orange County is supposed to be like the heart of California's GOP stronghold, as like as a densely populated area, unlike Bakersfield or whatever. And even there, they're like, nope, this is good. They shouldn't have done it if they didn't want it.
To rig the midterm election continue to this day.
So what does the president, who was a factor in all these races, make of the results? Well, in the social media posts overnight, he blamed the fact he wasn't on the ballot to boost Republican turnout, and he blamed the shutdown. And as Mayor-elect Mamdani was speaking last night here in New York and strongly criticizing the president's threats to meddle in city affairs, the president posted a 4-word message. And so it begins. We'll see if he explains what he means later today. Nate?
All right, Ed, thank you. CBS News Elections and Surveys Director, Anthony.
Yeah, you know what that means? He's kneeling. It's genuflection time. Trump on Mamdani will help him a little bit. Trump, I want New York City to be successful. That's what he meant, it turns out. That's right, baby. That's right. Bow down, bitch. Bow down. Woo, goddamn. Feels good. Fucking feels good. Take a knee. Take a knee. Take a bow. Okay? Meanwhile, there are still obviously entities that are not reading the room and stating that they will be an op every step of the way. Of course, my boldest op, perhaps even my boldest op, Jonathan Greenblatt is who I'm talking about. Many of you wanted me to cover this part of the story as well, which I, of course, will be doing. My boldest of ops, Jonathan Greenblatt, is obviously talking about how they want to put together a McCarthyist unit that will investigate the Zohran Mamdani teams to the best of their ability. You have it up for the young men. How about we give it up to the base of the Democratic Party, black people? Oh, yeah, of course. Always. Yeah, and this, both dipshits. What is this? Yeah. Inbox, the Anti-Defamation League announces launch of initiative to track and monitor policies and personnel appointments of the incoming Mamdani administration and protect Jewish residents across the 5 boroughs. Wow, sounds like the ADL is launching its own version of Canary Mission to try and prevent people who are critical of Israel from getting hired by city government. They will not get even a little bit of motion on this, okay? I can make you I'm making you a promise right now. I will fight back against this shit with the utmost severity that it deserves, okay? Suck my fucking dick, Jonathan Greenblatt, you fucking bitch. You expended all of the social capital you had trying to dunk on people like Zohran Mamdani, trying to dunk on people like myself, people who are anti-Zionist and not anti-Semitic, while simultaneously defending some of the most vicious anti-Semites. And yes, Morning Joe had Greenblatt on this morning to fucking complain. Like I said, my baldest op. This is so gross. Trump has actual neo-Nazis who have gone through Senate approval, but this is what this org is continuing to perpetuate after a historic night when a large percentage of the Jewish New Yorkers actually supported Zohran Mamdani. Just gross. The ADL is launching an initiative to track and monitor Mamdani administration policies and appointments, protect Jewish New Yorkers. Okay? I like this post-election, Hasan. You sound much more hopeful. Yeah, I mean, of course I sound more hopeful. Our boy won.
Tell you, I've gotten so many calls from Jewish New Yorkers who are alarmed. Their kid was harassed in college. Their child was bullied in K through 12. Their synagogues vandalized. So here's what ADL is doing right now. If you are a Jewish New Yorker, we have your back, and we will hold Mamdani.
It's so cynical and so gross to use real fears and also hysteria. Let's be real, because while there are, I'm sure, real fears against actual anti-Semitic incidents that take place, okay, there is a metric ton of hysteria, mostly as a consequence of the racialized animus that many pro-Israel people feel towards those who are Muslim, okay? But it is disgusting that Jonathan Greenblatt, head of the ADL, is cynically saying that he's actually tasked with defending Jews when we know he does not care at all. He only cares about defending Israel. Yeah, there was a swastika spray painted on a synagogue this morning. I saw that. Like, there are real instances of anti-Semitism, but he is the worst guy to map this out. Okay? That's it. That's it.
Elect Mamdani accountable. And I will tell you, I've gotten so many calls from Jewish New Yorkers.
Fucking bullshit. As I said on Morning Show, I've already gotten so many calls from Jewish New Yorkers who were concerned. It's just leaning into this fucking dumbass hysteria, bro. What a fucking asshole. He tweeted about it 14 minutes before you accused him of not tweeting about it. Oh, crickets for mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani. Yeah, the Magen David Yeshiva in Brooklyn was one of the several Jewish sites defiled last night with spray-painted swastikas. I strongly condemn this hateful display of anti-Semitism. Zohran, of course, also immediately fucking condemned. He said, this is a disgusting and heartbreaking act of anti-Semitism, and it has no place in our beautiful city. As mayor, I will always stand steadfast with our Jewish neighbors to root the scourge of anti-Semitism in our city. So it wasn't crickets at all. He actually had tweeted about it. But these motherfuckers don't care. They don't care. I'm sorry. You are personally betraying the severity of the crisis if you are using this crisis to try to win political points. Okay? Because this is a real heinous act of bigotry. And when you see a real heinous act of bigotry, if your first inclination is not even to check whether or not Zohran Mamdani has said anything about it, but immediately fucking cry foul and act as though this is not something that he would worry about as mayor, and then lie and say that he hasn't said anything about it, you're a fucking piece of shit, and you obviously don't give a fuck about anti-Semitism. And I'm sick and tired of acting like these guys give a single shred of a fuck about anti-Semitism outside of being able to weaponize it, both the real existing forms of bigotry and anti-Semitism, and also the fake made-up versions of it, okay? The fake made-up versions that are the associations with anti-Zionism. It's ridiculous. I see a man in Jonathan Greenblatt who has who has destroyed, who has eroded his reputation as someone who was supposed to be a defender of Jewish people, someone who was supposed to be combating anti-Semitism. He has eroded what remained of the reputation of the ADL because a lot of people were unfamiliar with the ADL and how they operated. For the record, it was always an institution that was primarily focused on defending Israel, right? That's why I call it the Apartheid Defense League. But they're going to try to rat fuck him. They're going to try to like Jeremy Corbyn him. And it's not going to work, okay? We can't let it work. I will do everything in my power to make sure that it doesn't fucking work.
I have not spoken to Jonathan Greenblatt. I take the issue of anti-Semitism incredibly seriously. And last night in my speech, I spoke about how my city hall will stand steadfast with Jewish New Yorkers in fighting the scourge of anti-Semitism across the city and making that clear in the actions that we deliver on from January 1st. And I look forward to working with Jewish leaders across this city, whether they be elected officials, whether they be rabbis, whether they be community leaders, to deliver on the promise of not just protecting Jewish New Yorkers, but celebrating and cherishing them in this same city. I think that anyone is free to catalog the actions of our administration. I have some doubts in Jonathan's ability to do so honestly, given that he previously said I had not visited any synagogues, only to have to correct himself. I have not spoken to Jonathan Greenblatt. I take...
So fucking annoying. It's just like, it's ridiculous, dude. It is so fucking ridiculous. I cannot believe how insincere this shit is. Like, it's crazy. Taking a real act of an anti-Semitic hate crime only to instantly try and fucking weaponize it against the new Muslim mayor before he's even the fucking mayor. The ADL completely ignored the takeover of the GOP by literal Nazis, but is hysterical about a Muslim winning an election, almost like they are a hate group themselves. And that is true. The ADL is a hate group. It is not a civil rights organization. And they basically dropped all notion that they are a civil rights organization. They literally fired all the actual investigators and researchers that were tasked with at least legitimizing the reputation of the ADL by covering the genuine hate groups that exist in the country. They dropped it. It's just maximum Islamophobia and maximum defense of Israel. It's disgusting. If I'm Mamdani, I say I'm happy to sit down with the ADL and have an open dialogue with them, but only after they publicly condemn Randy Fine, Nancy Mace, Elise Stefanik, and Andy Ogles for their racist attacks on me. They will never do this, so there you go, problem solved. Or fucking turn around and say not just that, but Elon Musk, Donald Trump, the Republican administration. This is the guy MSNBC and CNN treat as an authority on hate and combating racism, by the way. By far, the most platform source on combating extremism. Yeah. Mazel tov to Elise Stefanik on her nomination to be the next U.S. ambassador to UN. Rep. Stefanik has been a critical partner and absolutely fearless in fighting campus anti-Semitism. This was under the Biden administration. He's giving credit to Elise Stefanik. I think it's so disgusting. It's so nasty the way these guys operate. Fucking bullshit. Straightforwardly a fucking Nazi operation. I can't believe it. I can't believe they just like have any sort of like the very fact that the media still has Jonathan Greenblatt on is like a crazy to me. And it goes to show how little executives care about who they're platforming and why they're doing it. But yeah, they will use this cynical framework to engage in their own version of McCarthyism. It's very clear. Very, very clear. Yeah, DMFI also had their version of this as well. Remember, Democratic Majority for Israel. This is an AIPAC subsidiary. Fascinating message. The first, pro-Israel Democratic governors. The second paragraph urges Mamdani not to prioritize foreign policy issues that are unrelated to the lives of most New Yorkers. What did the friendly woman from the Free Press write about you? I didn't see it, but I'm sure it wasn't great. Yeah. We are thrilled that tonight voters in Virginia and New Jersey elected strong mainstream Democratic pro-Israel governors, Abigail Spanberger and Mikey Sherrill, to lead their states. Across the country, Democratic led efforts prevailed. In Pennsylvania, judicial retention votes succeeded. In California, Prop 50 is likely to pass. These victories were guided by capable leaders Governor Josh Shapiro and Governor Gavin Newsom, underscoring voters' confidence in the Democratic leadership. At the same time, while we congratulate Mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani, we urge him to prioritize fulfilling his campaign promises to bring down costs, not foreign policy issues. I love that the first paragraph literally is like, these are pro-Israel candidates, and it was awesome. Also, second paragraph, hey, if you're pro-Palestine, fuck you. Maybe you should not focus on that. Maybe you should focus on your own shit. So fucking stupid. Yeah. Sorry, Jewish New Yorkers, but the foreign country of Israel is more important than the fire in your home. I can no longer protect New Yorkers from fires because the mayor criticized the foreign country of Israel. NYC fire commissioner is resigning over disagreements with Mamdani on Israel is another very funny moment, because you would expect like Jessica Tisch to do that, but not like the NYPD or the fire commissioner in the fire department. And it turns out, first of all, good riddance. Okay. R.I.P. Bozo. Also, the NYPD fire commissioner, I suspect, is the corrupt one, right? Yeah. Remaining in his administration will be against his principles. The principles in question. Fire one. That's the one, right? I was thinking of that. Yeah. Eric Adams appointee. That's his car, chat. Are you hungover? You were popping off yesterday? Yeah, I feel a lot better now. Now that I slammed my autism pills and also am on my second zero sugar Monster Energy Bev, I'm in a much better headspace. This motherfucker has a Grand Theft Auto online car, bro. God damn it. We are such a fucking fake ass country. The fakest of all time. Melissa Bronstein, it says nothing good about the state of the country that both Ben Shapiro and Barry Weiss have security details. Brace says, yup. Revoke now. Pink or a white monster? Which one's better? I go with both. I do both. I had white before, and now I'm having the pink one. He was putting out a lot of fires with that car. Yeah, he had to get to the fires fast with the Lambo. How else are you going to do that? Tucker is owner of the Israel-based TNM Israel Group. Huh. You got guests coming soon? Yes, I have food coming, and I have Felix Biederman coming up as well. Okay, we talked about Trump bending the knee. All right, let's get back to it. here.
Tonto is with us right now. Good morning. So what stood out to you in these results?
Good morning. First thing, turnout, big turnout. For example, in New York City, more than 2 million ballots. That is historically very high. The other part is Democrats win back voters and places that they had slippage with in 2024. Mamdani certainly did. These blue areas, all the neighborhoods in New York City. Other big thing here, affordability, the cost of living. It's by far the #1 issue for New York City voters, and he won them handily. I'm going to show you a similar story. I'm going to go across the river here and pull up the map from New Jersey. Now, the governor's race here, Mikey Sherrill outperformed what Kamala Harris did in 2024. We were watching that last night. I'm going to show you the comparison here. You see she did better. But in particular, let me show you the map here. These upper area, these suburbs across from New York City, if I compare that to 2024, you see it had gotten a little redder. Democrats win back, make those areas bluer. That's another common theme. It was also in Virginia. And I'm going to pull up another exit poll slide from Virginia to talk about the economy again. Here, a majority of voters said that the cuts to the federal government were impacting their family finances. Again, affordability, cost of living, another theme throughout.
All right, Anthony Salvanto, thank you very much.
Zohran Mamdani's victory is extraordinary by so many measures.
Thank you, my friends.
Not least in the simple numbers. Polling at 1% in February, he built and rode a wave of momentum all the way to one of the most powerful offices in U.S. politics.
Fingers bruised from lifting boxes on the warehouse floor.
I love these lines, man.
Palms calloused from delivery bike handlebars. Knuckles scarred with kitchen burns. These are not hands that have been allowed to hold power. And yet, over the last 12 months, you have dared to reach for something greater.
A 34-year-old former state assembly member, an immigrant, a socialist, who appealed to a city where the affordability of everyday life has become the pressing political issue.
We will fight for you because we are you. Or as we say on Steinway, ana minkum wa ilaykum. I am young, despite my best efforts to grow older. I am Muslim. I am a democratic socialist. And most damning of all, I refuse to apologize for any of this.
A message that resonated through the campaign, sparking hope among his supporters last night.
New Yorkers needed a win. It's been a long year. We didn't get the World Series, but we got the best mayor possible.
This was a campaign ran on hope, and I think...
Oh, this was the ending of the Zohran speech here. I'll show you this too.
Thank you.
Fucking awesome. How can you not feel excited, man?
all of us felt it tonight.
We're going to make the city affordable. We're going to have free buses. We're going to have free childcare. It actually feels like somebody who lives here and feels our struggle.
New Yorkers मुश्किल से afford कर रहे हैं रोटी, कपड़ा और मकान. मैं ये सब बदलने के लिए लड़ रहा.
Mamdani's campaign fused old-fashioned shoe leather and FaceTime with a slick but authentic use of social media. It focused on key messages: free childcare, free fast buses, and a freeze on rents for nearly 2 million New Yorkers. And it was aided by the lack of a...
Why are we pretending like historically didn't teach us anything about Western democratic socialists to prevent actual change, mainly in Europe, who just calm people down? Are we just going to ignore history and pretend this is not going to end in disappointment? Yeah, no, I think you guys are... I mean, you got it. That's all I got to say. You got it. You're building the Marxist-Leninist vanguard. And if it wasn't for a democratic socialist that became mayor in New York, like, you were literally right there, right? You know, copy of Das Kapital, the Red Book in every pocket, right? Armed with AK-47 Kalashnikovs, refurbished. And yet, like, everybody was ready, right? And the moment was now. And, you know, you've already unlocked class consciousness. You have fomented revolutionary sentiment amongst the working class. You have built a disciplined and organized movement. And then this fucking guy comes around and is smiling, okay? And is talking about like modest increases in the welfare state. And as obviously every card-carrying Marxist knows, you know, this is social fascism, right? Social democracy is social fascism. And he is here to actually smile and to make sure that you and the rest of the revolutionary vanguard actually go back to being shepherded into the Democratic Party, a bourgeois party. And that's where we're at. Yes, an incredibly sinister way. They did it. We were right there. We were right there, you know, right there. It was imminent. The organizational tools were there. The structure was there. And you got defeated by a fucking 34-year-old social fascist. Bro, he is going to say, he's going to agree with you. You need to say you were joking. No, it's fine. If you can't capture my sarcasm, especially in the beginning stages of that argument, which is that this is the heart of empire where it is utterly devoid of class consciousness, even before we think about the perspective of like labor aristocracy. If you can't contend with that, if you can't comprehend that you're unfortunately an utterly unserious person, okay? Strawman the Chatter Classic, HasanAbi. How about you actually respond to the concerns instead of strawmanning? I just did. If you couldn't figure out that I responded to the concern, albeit in a humorous way and in a sarcastic tone, that's your problem, right? Could you give an honest answer? Because I'm seriously curious how you think this will end. I mean, he is going to be, he's going to have to deal with a metric ton of fucking hurdles while trying to modestly improve the material conditions of working class New Yorkers. And there are going to be a lot of failures along the way. Having said that, however, this is movement building. Use this as an opportunity to get people on board, okay? That's the problem. A lot of you don't realize that because you don't recognize the initial issue here. This is a country utterly devoid of class consciousness. This is a country where the mass movement is liberalism by and large, self-identifying liberals who don't realize that they might have revolutionary tendencies or socialist tendencies. This is a country that has been propagandized heavily against socialism. There's tremendous antagonism towards this ideology. It's not like a simple delineation. It's just a straightforward anxiety. And that is precisely the reason why, you have to continue building a movement, right? You have to keep organizing. You have to keep mobilizing. You have to create the networks. It's not just about labor unions. It's also about education. And when we don't have that, at all, and when we have no fucking movement whatsoever, there's nothing we can do. If it weren't for politicians like Bernie 10 years ago, I don't know, I would have figured out if I'm a leftist. Yes. I think there is an interesting tendency that some people have where they immediately run to perhaps the most cynical approach they can get. Like they see something good in an otherwise sea of awfulness, and they think to themselves, no, this is awful too. This is duping me as well. Well, it's duping you if you don't know how to use it, right? I don't think that Zohran Mamdani, controversial opinion here, I don't think that Zohran Mamdani is going to bring about a Marxist-Leninist revolution. I don't think that he's going to bring about a socialist revolution. I do, however, think that running as many people who are self-identifying socialists as a strong alternative to the existing establishment neoliberal centrist Democrats is a good thing, especially at a time when there is a historic level of unpopularity amongst the Democrats. They're weak. And it's interesting because a lot of you that refuse to recognize the opportunity here don't realize that our enemies do recognize it. Okay? You don't, because you're sitting around in your fucking reading group jerking off. They do. The billionaires and the capital owning class are unimaginably organized. Okay? They are class conscious. They are organized. That's why they do everything in their fucking power to stamp out any sort of hope that the working class could possibly have. So yeah, I'm going to fucking celebrate this, okay? If you want to complain about it, if you want to instantly go, oh, well, it's going to suck. He's not going to be able to do any socialism. Yeah, he's not. He's not. We're unfortunately not there yet, okay? But it's upon all of us to make sure that we use this good example and this moment of hope to bring more people on board. That's it. That's it. Bro, you are part of the capital groups. I am not entertaining this level of delusion. I think you need to start reading books. For some of you, I say maybe read less theory or maybe apply theory to the current existing material conditions. But for him, for you, the J Reed, you have to actually read theory. Okay? Number one, you're wrong. Number two, even if I was, there are historic examples of capital owners who are class traders. Engels, obviously, is a fantastic example of such. You should want people who are capital owners to be real class traders. There are some, but in any case, I'm not even a part of the owner class. Unless, yes, like that chatter said, I own the libs and the hogs in the marketplace of ideas, in which case I am. Do you think you would have supported FDR and the New Deal if you lived in the early 1930s? Yes. The fuck? You know who supported the FDR and the New Deal in the early 1930s? Communists did. The active and real movement of communism in this country and socialism in this country was the pressure point that forced FDR to do the New Deal.
Opponent from the mainstream of the Democratic Party.
I'm Andrew Cuomo, and one of the things I love about New Yorkers is that you always know what's on their minds.
The man he beat in the Democratic primary, Andrew Cuomo, stood against him as an independent this time, well beaten into second place.
Congratulations to Zohran Mamdani. No.
But the former New York governor, forced from office over sexual harassment accusations, didn't stint in putting the case against the new mayor.
Almost half of New Yorkers did not vote to support a government agenda that makes promises that we know cannot be met. And we will not tolerate any behavior.
He's like, I'm leaving and going to Miami. I'm done doing sexual harassment in the state of New York, and I will instead take my talents to South Beach, where I will engage in Olympic levels of sexual harassment in South Beach, Florida.
That fans the flames of anti-Semitism or diverse attacks.
During the campaign, Mamdani called Israel's assault on Gaza a genocide, said he would arrest Prime Minister Netanyahu if he came to New York, and has long sought to penalize charities linked to Israeli settlements. Mamdani was accused of being a jihadist candidate by one New York Republican. He said Cuomo had laughed along to the suggestion Mamdani would celebrate a second 9/11.
And we will build a city hall that stands steadfast alongside Jewish New Yorkers and does not waver in the fight against the scourge of anti-Semitism, where the more than 1 million Muslims know that they belong, not just in the 5 boroughs of this city, but in the halls of power. No more will New York be a city where you can traffic in Islamophobia and win an election.
So what lessons from last night for a Democratic Party looking to win midterm congressional elections next year? In Virginia and New Jersey, the governor's races were won by moderate Democrats, who also put affordability at the center of their campaigns. Donald Trump is keen to make Mamdani the new national Democratic brand, calling him a communist, threatening to cut federal funding to New York. But first, offering an explanation for Mamdani's win, at once centering himself and sidestepping blame. Trump wasn't on the ballot and shut down were the 2 reasons that Republicans lost elections tonight, according to pollsters he posted on his Truth Social site. Mamdani himself, though, clear. His agenda points the way for his party.
And if there is any way to terrify a despot, it is by dismantling the very conditions that allowed him to accumulate power. This is not only how we stop Trump, it's how we stop the next one. So Donald Trump, since I know you're watching, I have 4 words for you. Turn the volume up.
Zohran Mamdani will have to show he can lead a workforce of 300,000, that he can implement and pay for his ambitious agenda, and he'll have to fight a president determined to make an example of him. For all the drama of his campaign and his victory, much more is to come when he takes office on New Year's Day. Well, we're joined now by the political analyst Galen Druke, host of the GD Politics podcast. Thanks very much for your time after a long night, I'm sure. Firstly, top level, why did Zohran Mamdani win and win so well last night?
Zohran Mamdani started his campaign in the parts of New York City in the Bronx and Queens during the Democratic primary that swung significantly towards Trump over the past, I would say, 5 to 7 years. These are Latino and Asian communities largely, and he was out in the street asking folks, what's the most important issue to you? And what he heard time and time again was the cost of living and affordability. And so he really laser focused on those issues during both his primary and general election campaign. And so he was able to sort of stem the bleeding for the Democratic Party amongst some of the voters that have swung the furthest to the right in recent years. Now, of course, that's only part of the story. We also know from his primary victory that he was able to turn out young voters at a very high rate, particularly for a mayoral primary. And he did that again last night. We saw throughout the city that young voters turned out in droves. And in other parts of the city that you might not have expected to traditionally vote for a Democratic socialist, he was either able to keep the margins pretty thin between himself and Cuomo, or even win some parts of the city that are generally thought of as establishment aligned within the Democratic Party. And so he was able to piece together a coalition that I actually don't think we've seen a Democratic socialist piece together before in American politics. I will say New York City is sui generis. It is a very Democratic city that does not represent the nation as a whole, but still, of course, a significant feat for that part of the Democratic Party.
And to fulfill the pledges he's making, he's talking about this flat tax on the wealthiest. How realistic do you think it is that the governor might approve that?
If he seems to be really popular and have the wind at his back, I think it is likelier that the Democratic governor of New York will want to work with him. Now, will she be willing to work with him to the extent that she will raise taxes on wealthy individuals and corporations? I still think that's relatively unlikely because she has been so adamant about keeping taxes down. New York State is already one of the highest tax states in the nation, but perhaps they come to some sort of agreement or compromise there. I mean, I think the other thing to be watching is to what extent does Zohran Mamdani moderate once he's in office, or at least try to build alliances across the different parts of the city, including big business, Wall Street, the real estate developers. Because look, this is going to be the most high-profile opportunity that Democratic socialists and the progressive left part of the Democratic Party have to govern ever since Bernie Sanders burst onto the scene and made this an ascendant part of the Democratic Party.
And looking at the national picture, I mean, we saw in Virginia and in New Jersey, we saw these moderate Democrats with national security backgrounds charting a very different course from Mamdani on that front, if not on the affordability issue, winning with larger margins than he did. So what do Democrats take from that nationally? And is it more really about Trump's own standing than their strategy?
I do think it's worth looking at those gubernatorial races in New Jersey and Virginia because, I mean, they were blowouts to a certain extent. These are states that Harris won, both New Jersey and Virginia, by 6 percentage points in 2024. Last night, the gubernatorial candidate, Democratic candidate in Virginia, Spanberger, won by 15 percentage points, and it looks like the Democratic candidate...
How are you not a capital owner? Your Twitch channel, YouTube channel, merchandise lines, and intellectual property all constitute capital that generates ongoing income? Really? So if I were to stop streaming, I could engage in the act of capital accumulation? How would that work? Like at the end of the day, the overwhelming majority of my revenue comes from, if not the damn near entirety of my revenue actually comes from voluntary subscriptions to the Piker Broadcasting Service. Now, obviously, we don't have the same assembly line structure that used to exist that made the class boundary better defined. We do live in a world of finance capital. There's global domination there. But how does that work? How would that work if I were to stop making content? You know, being on stream. How would capital accumulation work of that sort? Am I a stock? It would only work if I had someone else that would take my place, and I would basically hire them to do what I'm doing and then take a cut, or rather engage in the act of generating profits. Your YouTube videos and Twitch vlogs will keep earning ad revenue for a while. Wait, what? What you're describing is not capital. That isn't capital. But it doesn't even matter. You think it's the case because you're wrong, or maybe you have a disagreement with me. I think it's because you're wrong, but who cares? Because the reality of the matter is, even if I was, okay, even if I was, that would at most make me a class traitor. All three are actually capital, and you know that? No. At most, you could say that I have a practice where I contract or have people that work with me, work alongside me. This is true. Okay? That's not wrong. Accumulation, your capital is what's working for you. Your money is what's working for you. If I were to take the earnings from what I've done here and dump it into the stock market or purchase real estate and become a landlord, that is when I would become a capital owning, a part of the capital owning class. You can't just say, oh, all three are actually capital and you know that, and move on. That's not how that works. Because at the end of the day, if I did not labor in some sort, and you could say it's not productive labor because it's true, it's not. But at the end of the day, if I were to stop doing this, then there's no more revenue. You're just trying to fit it into a very narrowly focused argument because I think you're just too predisposed with trying to get an own over me. So here's the thing. Here's the situation. From my assessment, and people might even disagree with me, I think in this day and age, because of the heavily financialized structure that exists with finance capital, that I like my standard for it, and it's not like a black or white standard, but my standard is if the majority of your revenue generation is coming from actually your wage labor, if the overwhelming majority of your revenue is coming from your actual wage labor, whether you are a contractor, whether you're a part of the gig economy, doesn't matter, whether you are doing what I'm doing, in that circumstance, even if you do have, you know, like a 401k, for example, because I do, right? Because I want to be able to retire one day. That would still, I think, put you firmly in the pro side of the argument. You are a capital owner, yes. You're not engaged in significant capital accumulation unless your asset, real estate, investment, or business entities with employees produce income without your ongoing work. Oh, okay, so you do understand. You're just a fucking moron. Never mind. Huh. I love when guys come in here and they're like, no, actually, I do understand where you're coming from. I just wanted to be fucking annoying. So why did we do this back and forth then? You just wanted to like autistically argue on the semantics? Because that's an entirely separate thing that you're describing. It's so dumb. I don't know why people do this. I genuinely don't understand it. Maybe you felt like lonely in your home and you wanted to be heard or something. But thank you. Chatter thinks owning anything is capital. Yeah, no, you have a car, dude. Yeah.
In New Jersey, Mikey Sherrill is going to win by 13 percentage points. And what that tells me is that the backlash to Trump is building, and it is evidenced in a couple different ways. Yes, in terms of persuasion, more people wanting to vote for Democrats, but especially in terms of turnout. You know, we did an analysis looking at the precincts across Virginia. We saw that in the rural parts of the state, voters were not very engaged in this election, whereas in Northern Virginia, close to D.C., they were incredibly engaged. These are people who have been amongst the most affected in the country by the Doge cut.
Getting butthurt because you can't understand the frustration of actual middle to low class people because you've never known struggle is absolutely crazy. Yeah. What do you have to say to the 42,556 people here who are all, also, what is a fucking low class or middle class? That immediately betrays any sort of Marxist analysis here. Just so you know, this is not a real class designation. It's liberalism. Because if we're going to have a conversation around orthodox or Marxist orthodoxy, instead of trying to farm clips like this, I need you to understand you are being a liberal, but the notion that every single other person in here is actually also just as wealthy as I am, just as fortunate financially as I am, and then trying to slam this argument as though I'm like angry at the working poor, because I've lived a very privileged life, which I readily admit for the record, is just a silly way to try to do identity politics, but also slamming a bastardized version of class into it. What do you say to all the other people who think you're being a fucking... You called them a pro, though, so that's weird? What? A pro? I said proletariat. And I call myself, or anyone who makes the overwhelming majority of their revenue from... Brother, you don't even know what these terms mean. Okay, shh. Hey, shh. Shh. Okay? We're going to shush now. Sometimes it's okay not to fucking respond if you don't know what you're talking about. Sometimes it's okay to just sit back and listen. All right? It's all good. Not everything needs a reaction, baby. Sometimes it's okay. You can just sit back, maybe learn a few things, you know? Pro, shortened for proletariat, is not a slur.
We saw earlier this year, and of course the government shutdown that still remains in action right now. However, an electorate that looks like this is not applicable to a presidential election. Turnout will be much, much higher. The parts of states that reliably vote for Republicans will turn out as well. And so, you know, Virginia did not all of a sudden become a plus 15 Democratic state last night.
And what does Trump do now? Because both men have made it clear that they're up for something of a battle between City Hall, New York, and the White House. And Trump has threatened to withdraw federal funding from New York. So how does that all play out?
There also seems to be some hinting towards calling in the National Guard to New York City. So the stakes are incredibly high for New York City. I think that what Republicans see in Zohran Mamdani, and Trump in particular, is a foil that they would like to highlight. Zohran Mamdani, of course, was able to win in New York City. But New York City is, for example, in the last presidential...
Someone in chat repeated what Zohran said, which I think is a great way to look at it. Stop saying Trump's statements or his illegal threats are law. This is a real problem with the current standard in the media, okay? They just literally listen to what Trump is saying, and it's just a ridiculous threat. Oftentimes an illegal threat. Oftentimes doubly illegal because it's happening in the backdrop of an election taking place where he's like trying to manipulate the outcome of an election. And we just look at it as like, oh, that's a promise. He's going to do that. We have completely dropped all notion of legality here. It's crazy. Don't do that.
Election voted for Harris at about 70%. Obviously, that is not what the nation looks like. And we've already seen messaging from, you know, the RNC, the Republican political group, and some of the congressional campaigns trying to tie Democrats throughout the rest of the country to Zohran Mamdani by, you know, calling them socialists, calling them even communist. So there's a fork in the road, and we will see which path Zohran Mamdani ends up taking if he is able to try to, I don't know, maintain some relationship with Donald Trump. It doesn't seem likely that Trump wants that, but of course it will greatly affect New York City. And I do think behind all of this, Republicans would really like to create a foil out of Zohran Mamdani.
Well, Galen Drew, thank you very much for your time
today. Did you just have one of the ACP theorist guys on once and be charitable so these kinds of guys leave you alone? Are you fucking kidding me? They will never leave me alone. You think that is gonna make them leave me alone? Were you crazy?